The Jacksonville Jaguars take on the Houston Texans in Week 15 of NFL action. Both teams sitting at 2-11 right now, and the Jaguars favored in this one by 3.5 points, but that line continues to increase in favor of the Texans, and I say in favor of the Texans because the line keeps moving. It opened at -1.5, I believe. Then it was at -3. Now it's at -4.5 in favor of the Texans, so you can take the Texans plus 4.5. We'll get to that in a little bit. The over-under currently sitting at 39.5 points, which seems fairly accurate for two offenses that rank 31st and 32nd in points per game in the NFL. But Pooj Crew, thank you for being here for episode 122 of the Poojie Podcast. And if you have not heard by now, you must have been asleep all day, maybe working the night shift, but now you're awake and you are aware that Urban Meyer is out as Jacksonville Jaguar head coach after just 14 weeks and 13 long, gruesome games as the Jaguars head ball coach. He was here for right around 11 months, just under 330 total days, went through a whole draft process, went through all of free agency, all of offseason workouts, and came into the season, went 2-11 with this Jaguars team through 13 games in 14 weeks. And Darrell Bevell will take over as interim head coach, formerly with the Seattle Seahawks as offensive coordinator, as well as in the same position with the Detroit Lions. I know as Jaguar fans, a lot of us have taken a deep breath and feel relieved by this move. But let's go through a little bit of what got us here before we jump into this Texans matchup in Week 15. A lot going on with Urban Meyer. As many of you remember, and the media will not let you forget all of the wrongdoings Urban Meyer did from week one, hiring a strength and conditioning coach from Iowa State who stepped in, who had been released from Iowa State and had kind of been on ban in the NCAA due to racial issues that he was having with African-American players due to various haircuts, chains, teeth, things like that in the program, hires him on, and he steps down one day later. That was mistake number one. He goes on throughout the rest of his tenure making controversial decisions like not running the ball on 4th and 1 or benching your superstar player, James Robinson, in favor of your former college running back, Carlos Hyde. In a Thursday night matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals that saw the Jaguars blow a 14-point lead to Joe Burrow in the Bengals that would come back in the second half and win the game, Urban Meyer decides to skip out on the team flight and feels that it is best for him to stay in Cincinnati to visit grandkids, and unless his grandchild is someone that he's extremely close with, so much so to be able to put his hand on her butt, he was not with his grandkids as far as what the videos and pictures have shown us. He was enjoying some time at one of his bars up in the Columbus, Ohio area, enjoying some time up there. And as a head coach of a team that at the time had 0 wins, not a good look for Urban Meyer. And Shad Khan came out at that moment in October claiming he had to earn our respect back, and he did not do that any way, shape, or form. More and more continued to come out before the Week 14 matchup after Week 13. Players on the Rams coming out saying Jaguar players were coming up to them frustrated by the situation in Jacksonville, uncomfortable with Urban Meyer as their coach. Urban Meyer coming out and calling his coaches losers, asking them to explain their resumes. And even so much as so to get into it with veteran wide receiver Marvin Jones to the point where he leaves practice and has to get assistant coaches to pull him back to the facilities. The final straw, however, came just recently when former kicker Josh Lambo came out and described a situation in preseason when Urban Meyer decided to physically kick him in what Lambo described as a 5 out of 10 effort kick or power kick. He said it was not a workplace type kick. It was not a fun, joking type kick. It was an aggressive, hey, make your kicks, dipshit type kick. And Josh Lambo responds with, hey, don't ever kick me again, expletive in the middle of that. And Urban Meyer says, I'm the head ball coach. I'll kick you if I want to kick you. Josh Lambo then does a sit down with local Jacksonville media news channel, First Coast News. And then at midnight 30 on Wednesday night going into Thursday, Urban Meyer gets fired by Shad Khan. So the Josh Lambo sit down really seems to be the final straw. And I don't know about you as a Jaguar fan, it does kind of feel like a breath of fresh air. I was one at the beginning that felt Urban was going to have a difficult time adjusting to the NFL culture, just as far as having control over a team. He continued to call the Jaguars a program. I think his perception coming into Jacksonville was a little bit skewed as far as how the NFL worked with building a team and building a roster. He took over and assumed the position over a completely terrible roster, for lack of a better term, and he was expected to do great things with it. And to be honest with you, if he had a different attitude, if he had his head on straight, I feel like maybe he could have done something great with this team and with this city. However, I will say this, my perception of Urban Meyer is he can be a good head coach, but he is a bad leader, qualifying him as now a bad head coach. You cannot be a good head coach without being a good leader, and he did not have good leadership skills. He was not a leader of men. He was a leader of boys and teens and the college level, and he came into the NFL expecting to be able to do the same, and that did not work for him. So good riddance to Urban Meyer. Excited to see him no longer with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and an opportunity for the Jaguars to go out and maybe sign a head coach with a little bit more NFL experience, possibly an up-and-coming head coach that's excited and passionate about this job, not someone already established, maybe someone already established. We'll have another video come out shortly about what we think are the best options going forward for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But for now, it will be Darrell Bevell assuming head coaching responsibility. And he has 4 games left to put on paper why he should be titled permanent head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars and drop the interim title. We've seen it happen in the past, but it doesn't happen as frequently as you would think. So Darrell Bevell has the Texans coming up in week 15, the Jets in week 16, the Patriots week 17, and then that extra week 18 game January 9th against the Indianapolis Colts. 2 winnable games on the schedule if he somehow rallies this team together, potentially 3 if we somehow can upset the Colts and stop Jonathan Taylor in week 18. I'm assuming week 17 is already a bit of a loss,